everyone's asking whether Donald Trump's cabinet picks are going to make it. I'm going to give you the 7 Republican senators to watch to see how they vote, because how they vote is going to depend a lot on whether Donald Trump's cabinet members make it to confirmation. Okay, now let's start here. Math. Republicans are very likely to control 53 Senate seats coming into 2025. Pennsylvania is still a little bit up in there, but I think Dave McCormick's going to win. Okay, so 53, and they control the White House. What that means is Republicans can lose 3 senators on any confirmation vote and still have that person confirmed, because then it would be 50-50, and J.D. Vance, the vice president, but also the head of the Senate, would break ties. Make sense? Okay, so lose 4 Republican senators and get no Democratic votes, which I don't think they will. If you lose 4 Republican senators, the confirmation fails. So let's go through 7 that I think on any given confirmation, whether that's Matt Gaetz for Attorney General, Tulsi Gabbard for Director of National Intelligence, Pete Hegseth for Defense Secretary, Kristi Noem for Department of Homeland Security, Robert F. Kennedy for Health and Human Services. I think those are the big 5 right now that you should be worried about if you're a Trump person. Let's go through how these 7 fit in. All right. These are in no particular order other than the order they occurred to me. Senator number 1, Alaska's Lisa Murkowski. Now, I want to go through a few stats about each of these senators. Lisa Murkowski is not up again until 2028. So she's not up for another term until 2028. So she's still got 4 years. Which is probably a good thing for her in terms of breaking with Trump, because it'll take a while for Trump will be cycling out of office when she's up for re-election. Make sense? Now, she was one of 7 Republican senators who voted to impeach Donald Trump for the January 6th insurrection. One of 7. So she did that. She also said she would not vote for Donald Trump in 2024. She also said she would not vote for Kamala Harris. She did not tell us who she would vote for. But remember, Alaska, different kind of place. Murkowski got elected in a write-in campaign at one point when she lost to a Tea Party conservative in a Republican primary. So she has political incentives to break with Trump from time to time. And I think she also has sort of personal beliefs that she is not a Trump person. So that's number 1. Number 2, Susan Collins of Maine. Now, this is what's interesting. Susan Collins is a Republican who represents a state that Kamala Harris won, Maine, by 7 points, and that Joe Biden won, and that Hillary Clinton won. So this is a Republican senator in a Democratic state. Doesn't happen all that often. Collins has not voted for Trump in 2016, 2020, or 2024. Now, she didn't tell us who she voted for in 2024, but she did endorse Nikki Haley, former UN ambassador, in the 2024 primaries. She, like Murkowski, voted to impeach Trump the second time for January 6th. Again, one of 7 senators, Republican senators, to do so. Now, Collins is up for re-election in 2026, this next election. And interestingly, very early on, days after the 2024 election, Collins told a group of reporters she was planning to run for a 6th term, which I think is rightly read as Collins signaling to the Senate Majority Leader, John Thune, the new Senate Majority Leader, I'm not going to be with you on all that much. I don't assume my vote is going to be for you. Now, if Collins had said she was retiring, well, then she doesn't have to worry about political consequences, and she can vote how she likes and probably would vote with Republicans more. But the political imperatives of running for another term in Maine as a Republican in a midterm election in the middle of Donald Trump's second term are significant, and I think means she has to vote against at least one of his cabinet picks, if not more. So that's my second one. Number 3, I'm going to go through a couple people you probably haven't heard of, and I'm saving the best for last. Number 3, and this guy you probably have not heard of, John Curtis. Who? John Curtis is the guy who is taking Mitt Romney's seat in the Senate. Romney, obviously one of the biggest critics of Donald Trump, maybe the most high-profile Republican critic of him in elected office, is retiring. Curtis is a member of Congress, a House member who won the Romney seat. This is interesting for a couple reasons. One, Curtis is definitely not a Trumpy MAGA-type Republican. He's much more of a sort of consensus builder. He's very much in the mold of Mitt Romney. So that's one reason to think about it. Number 2, I think I've told you this stat before, but I'm going to tell you again. In 48 out of the 50 states of these United States, in 2024, Donald Trump got a higher percentage of the vote than he did in 2020. So he improved his percentage in 48 of the 50 states between 2020 and 2024. There are 2 states he didn't. One is Washington State, that has 2 Democratic senators. The other is Utah. Because I think the Mormon community, which is dominant in Utah, has been by far the slowest reliable Republican community to come on board with Donald Trump. So Curtis bucking Trump from time to time, you might think, oh, that's terrible politics because it's Utah. It's less terrible politics than you might think. That's 3. 4, Todd Young. Again, probably not someone you've heard a lot about. Todd Young is a senator from Indiana. You would think, oh, senator, Republican state, he's for Trump. He's not for Trump. Publicly said he was not endorsing Trump in 2024. Now, Young has been quiet. Young is not a never Trumper out there banging the drum about Donald Trump and his threat to democracy. He's not that guy, mostly because he wants to win re-election. But he is not up until 2028, like Murkowski. So he doesn't need to worry about 2026. Trump will be in the twilight of his term by the time Todd Young is up. So he is someone who has consistently been willing to break with Trump, not support him. Now, how public does he go? That's another question, but someone to watch. That's 4. 5, Bill Cassidy from Louisiana. Again, Louisiana, you would think, like, of course he's going to be for Trump. Cassidy has been very Trump skeptical. He was one of the 7 Republican senators to vote to impeach Trump after January 6th. Kind of a different move given the politics of Louisiana. Very Republican state, very Trumpy state. Another interesting thing to watch, Cassidy is going to be the head of the Health Committee, the chair of the Health Committee in the Senate. And you know what they'll oversee? The confirmation hearings of Health and Human Services Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. So that will be fascinating to watch how Cassidy handles that. Kennedy, too many. But that may give us a signal. Cassidy has not said much. He's basically said, like, I'm interested to hear from RFK Jr., but that may give us a signal if he's going to break with Trump on this one. Number 6, Tom Tillis. So Tom Tillis represents North Carolina. He would be running for a 3rd term in 2026. He is without doubt, along with Susan Collins, the 2 biggest targets. Democrats are going to make 2 big targets in this election, probably Susan Collins and probably, almost assuredly, Tom Tillis. Tillis has to make a decision, the biggest decision. Is he going to run again or not? If he's going to run again, he's going to have to find a way to navigate a very difficult political challenge. Remember, Trump did win North Carolina in 2020 and 2024 and 2016. Now, he didn't win it by a lot. It's a swing state, but he won it. And Tillis has to find ways to not alienate the MAGA crowd, that is a significant block of Republican votes in that state, while also being able to win over maybe Research Triangle voters who are not particularly Trumpy. It's a really, really delicate dance if he wants to run for another term, and we don't know. Honestly, how he votes on some of these confirmation votes may indicate sort of what way he's leaning. Okay, last but certainly not least, number 7 of the senators to watch, Mitch McConnell. Okay, Mitch McConnell is no longer in the Senate leadership. He's just a rank and file member now. His term is up in 2026. He will not run for another term. He is in his 80s. He's had a number of well-documented health problems. This is it for McConnell, these next 2 years. McConnell, if you remember, when he was the leader of Senate Republicans, after January 6th, was very public about his potential willingness to vote to impeach Donald Trump. Now, he ultimately did not do so, basically on a technicality, because Trump, by the time they had the impeachment trial in the Senate, it was February of 2021, and Trump was already out of office. And McConnell essentially said, you can't impeach someone who's not in office anymore. Okay, sort of a technicality that didn't engage with what Trump had actually done. But McConnell and Trump loathe one another, to be clear. McConnell did endorse Trump, amazingly, and did vote for Trump, we think. But Trump has attacked McConnell's wife. Trump has attacked McConnell personally on a number of occasions, and they just do not see eye to eye. Does Mitch McConnell, in his final 2 years in office, with absolutely nothing to lose, he is not running for anything anymore, he is not in leadership anymore, does he break with Trump in meaningful ways on these confirmations, on these conferees? Does he choose on Gates or Hegseth or Gabbard or RFK Jr. or all of them? Does Mitch McConnell become a wild card? That one is the most fascinating of the 7 for me to watch. But those are my 7 senators that I do think on the Republican side, if you need to see which way the wind is blowing on these cabinet nominees, look to those 7. Murkowski of Alaska, Collins of Maine, Curtis of Utah, Young of Indiana, Cassidy of Louisiana, Tillis of North Carolina, and McConnell of Kentucky. That will tell us a lot about where things are heading for Donald Trump in his cabinet picks. As always, I ask you to do 4 things. I ask you to subscribe to this channel. I ask you to like this video. I ask you to comment on this video. Did I leave a senator out that you think might be one we need to watch for in the confirmation hearings? I'd love to hear it. And last, but certainly not least, I need you to tell 5, 10 friends about this channel. We are getting closer and closer to 50,000 people, and I'm brewing up an idea of what to do with 50,000. So check it out. Check out the channel. Spread the word. Take care of each other and yourselves.